All right, here we are live, Return on Life. Back with me, my regular partner, Sebastian Carrick. Sebastian, welcome.
Peter, good to be here again.
Yeah, so today I put kind of in the title, it may seem a little bit high level in a way, but your need, you need to give yourself, or sorry, I should say, your need to give yourself future options, right? And what does that really mean? And I think, life goes so fast. There's so many things going on. It's sometimes it's hard to conceptualize the future, but we think about this kind of in a broader, a more of a tactical day to day thing. What happens in the future should something happen to you, or when there's transitions, right? Those are things that we like to don't necessarily want to have to think about, but how about empowering ourselves with options?
Yeah, and I think it's a valid point because a business owner is not going to be thinking about that. It's your job. You're the advisor. Sometimes it's that difficult conversation of looking at things if this happens.
Yeah, and if it happens, if it happens, is it happening to you or is it happening for you? If you have the right processes in place, you have the right tools in place, then you do have options and you can make those decisions, right? And so maybe it'd be easier if we go through a couple examples. You had a bunch of us talking today about one, the scenario of what happened. I should read this out. If something unforeseen occurs that
Right.
prevents you from showing up your business for 3 to 4 months, you know, what should they do? What happens? And think of the impact on so many people that are involved in your business day to day, whether it be suppliers, be creditors, employees, and of course, the most important part, the customers.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes we're so busy running our business and we're just full speed ahead, full throttle. You're right. Is this stops you, it prevents you from moving forward for 3 to 4 months or longer. What happens next? Well, we've seen what can happen to a creditor. They might not feel comfortable with that the business has the ability to continue and pay back those loans or the operating lines or whatnot. So that could freeze the business from moving forward.
Right. And if you're working in your business all the time and you're doing all the processes and whatnot, then yeah, how does that impact everyone else's day to day life and how they interact with this business?
Yeah, and you're 100% right on that. Is how can that business continue to move forward if you're the business really? You're the engine behind it, and that engine's not moving anymore. What can happen?
Right. And so, there's different ways. We talked about, some of the people that we study, you and I, is like someone like Benjamin Hardy, who writes something like um, or Dan Sullivan as well. And these guys talk about, heard them talk about things like going on a sabbatical. So you build a self-managing company. And so that's one way of doing it. Not everybody's there or has the appetite to really take that on per se. But to your point, we can maybe talk about, I mean, some of the material they've written as well, like Who Not How.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Before I go to who not how, I'm just thinking about Joe Polish as you brought it up. Is
Mm,
him taking a sabbatical when his business was continuing to grow and being able to step away from the business so he could do some real good thinking and get into his head to take it to that next level when he
for,
came
for for 1 year, he
for
did that.
1 year. How many business owners can do that? You can't even step away for 3 months. How can you step away for 3 years? So the who not how is, an advisor like yourself putting in strategies that it doesn't have to be, that if the business can't move forward because something has happened to you for the next 3 months that you're out of commission. Well, who's going to step in?
Right.
Right? And that's a great planning point. Peter, you do a lot of that stuff. Is who will step in to solve this one issue? And you can tackle multiple issues with this.
Yeah, and it can be systems and processes. It can also be tools, right? That come in to help out as well in the world that we live in.
Yeah, and I remember back when I first got into the business, there was this thing about the invisible employee,
Mm,
right? And it really was just a life insurance contract to step in to infuse the business with cash to allow it to continue. What does that mean? Hiring a consultant, hiring a key employee to take certain responsibilities off your plate to keep the business going. You know.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think inevitably we talk about this over and over, but it's all about a lesson I learned long ago from high school friend. His dad would always say it's always easy to get in business, but getting out of it is the hard part, right? And I think just I don't know anyone who has a business that just goes straight up and just continues on to the end of the time. It takes hard work and planning to be able to put those pieces in place, and inevitably transitions are going to happen, right? Whether or not you said unforeseen circumstances, whether or not a partner leaves a business, you have to buy them out or whatever that may be. And then the inevitable, of course, when we pass, right? How do we transition these things?
Yeah, and how do you ensure that your wishes, the way you want to see it happen? Especially, you can even branch off to think about what the impact is on your family. If you've got kids that are in the business and ones that are not, is have you even thought about what that looks like? How do you make sure that they're all treated equally?
Right. And just simple things like we talked about this last week. You gave the story of that business owner. It 8 businesses, and when he was gone, it impacted literally that whole family empire, right?
It
Um,
did. Yeah. To the
I
detriment.
yeah, and so that was like line of credits got shut down. They had
Yeah, and you know what's funny is like sometimes we don't think about this as advisors. Is what are the circles around your client, especially if you're looking at business owners, and what if something happens? What's the impact? Yes, you're going to put this plan in place, but what's the impact really that you're looking out for? In this case, creditors froze their lines because they didn't feel comfortable with the Sioux sons running the business,
mm,
and that can have a big impact on what happens next. And we talked about this last week. What happened progressively over the course of a few years. 7 years late, several years later, the businesses are all gone,
right,
and that's a travesty in itself.
right, absolutely. And it's about, I mean, what I like to do with clients is really think about that future vision, right? What do you want to? What's the outcome you're looking for? We're always building for something. Inevitably, as we go through these transitions, like a simple as the most base I go through with people is like there's those transitions should something happen in the business. But when we pass, there's also going to be a very big tax bill that's going to come as well too, right? So just basic planning, put those basic plans in place will help create one is sustainability or surety to maintaining whatever you want to build, but then give you options at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you know what? If you fail the plan, right, what happens? You go back to that point is your future self. So you're envisioning a certain future, but will that future come into reality if you're not planning for that road ahead and looking at all the risks ahead of it?
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not. I don't see necessarily our role is to. I like to think of it in a way of like not say you know necessarily what happens if or think of it as a negative thing. It's more about empowering yourself. That's really the end of the day. Empower yourself with options, and you do that, then you know when that time comes, inevitably something will happen. You'll be able to make a decision yourself and not have all these outside influences have that type of impact.
Yeah, and think about the peace of mind. When you look at this and you're planning for a certain vision, certain future ahead, and you've covered all the bases as much as you can. Think about how do you sleep at night. You don't have to worry about that aspect. You can just focus on running your business.
And that can be pretty empowering too, to have that and not have that. There's some kind of stress that will impact people that they just maybe sometimes you don't see it, but it's probably sitting there in your mind.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I love the fact that you brought up the who, not how, because oftentimes we're not looking at that. We're looking, how can I get this done? How am I going to do this? How am I going to take this company there? But who can help you, right? And so I think Ben's book on who, not how is powerful in itself. Looking at that.
yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Well, Sebastian, any other closing thoughts on kind of this topic?
Yeah, you know what? For anyone who owns a business, I'd say reach out to Peter, reach out to an advisor, reach out to me. I can put you in touch with folks, but start to look at it so you don't have to worry about that side and just focus on building your business.
Absolutely. And how can people get in touch with you, Sebastian?
LinkedIn or through Equitable.
Okay, awesome. Very good. Well, thank you again for joining. Peter, you can reach me as well through LinkedIn or send me an email at peter@returnonlife.ca. And yeah, I think the net of it is from today is really about, you know, inevitably empowering yourself in the future by building yourself those options, building that plan. And there's plenty of people out there that can help you. So if you're not sure of anyone, then feel free to reach out to myself or Sebastian. We can definitely make sure you're in touch with someone who can.
Absolutely, and be your future self. Hey, Pete.
Yeah, that's it. All right.